to Capital Investment Committee. Good afternoon and welcome to the Capital Investment Committee meeting of August 25th, 2022. Call to order is roll call. Alderman Blanton. Here. Alderman Hanson. Here. Alderman Brown.
Here.
Alderman Berger here. Thank you very much. We'll go to approval of minutes. Consideration approval of minutes from July 14th, 2022.
Move to approve.
Second.
Do you have any comments? All right, all in favor? Alderman Blanton?
Aye.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, thank you very much. We'll go on to new business. Consideration, number two in new business. Consideration to grant sewer availability for 1347 Carolyn Circle, map 106B, parcel 003-300.
So this is a sewer availability for an existing house that's a little bit south of the city in the Red Wing Meadows subdivision. They are wanting to add a pool, so the county has indicated they need to come to us for approval. The 5 Mile Creek Interceptor runs behind their house, and it is, we actually, when that interceptor was laid, there was a tap made for them. So, the intent is, when their septic started failing is that they could make the connection. So the applicant is seeking approval. We are recommending approval contingent upon the execution of an annexation agreement.
So they're adding a pool?
They
now?
are, yes.
But their septic's still working, is that correct?
Yes.
But
the county
This
is
is-
requiring them
they're
to
requiring them.
come to us.
Okay.
Is this part, the sewer line we extended to serve the middle school? Is that what
No, this is
or
the
that
interceptor that was built quite a while ago that's kind of
Okay.
running north and south
Okay,
through that neighborhood, kind of parallel to 65.
okay.
Is this,
Those are Berry Farm, Stream Valley
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Typically-
But there's an existing tap.
There's an existing
Yes.
tab.
they're,
And typically, when you go to build a pool, you end up taking up one of the two septic fields or the backup septic field.
Yeah.
You're forced to have to do it. And historically, single-family houses where we've run sewers.
where is this
Been granted.
property in relationship in Red Wing Meadows compared to where we obtained some sewer for the Franks? Is this in the back?
It's on the back side. You can
So
kind
it's-
of see from this map. It's on the, I don't want to say the back side of the
See, I
neighborhood. It's
don't
not next to
see-
65, but it's right along that creek where the interceptor is. So the red is the parcel, and the interceptor runs right, all of that tree
Okay.
line is the creek.
All right, got it, I got it. Okay, is there any, there's a motion, please?
I move to approve.
We have a
Second.
Any other comments or questions on this? All right, all in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, passes 4-0. Thank you. Number three, consideration to deny sewer availability for 4165 Columbia Pike.
So this one is, the map is a little, the map appears that there's no sewer because there is no sewer. So this is south on Columbia, close to Coleman Road, which is way outside of our current sewer that we have right now. They're looking to build a veterinary office there, and serving this with sewer is consistent with the basin plan, would require a ton of additional piping. A whole new pump station, and then a lot of force main bringing that flow back up to the system. So they're asking for denial, and we are recommending denial.
All right. Do I have a
Correct.
motion?
Move to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, any
Second,
questions?
but I want
All
to
right.
discuss this
Go
for a
right
second.
ahead. Alderman Hanson.
All right, so you're telling me sewer is available in this block?
No, sewer is, I think it starts, I don't, Paul, if you can bring it up.
Yeah.
map out.
You
Yeah,
look on
it
the
starts
map.
way up in that red
And they're
at
asking.
Winstead
And
Elementary.
they're asking for sewer connect.
They
Or
have
deny-
to.
or to deny the
They're asking
septic.
for denial,
They
and we're
have to,
recommending
so that-
denial.
So
They're where the
county
arrow is.
So the
Say
county
no.
can,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, that's what
They're
I needed
required to
know
come to
in
us
this block.
for
The
that.
purple lines show our proposed interceptors, which
Okay.
you can see it flows to the south, requires the pump station, a significant amount of infrastructure.
And then the county comes in after us to approve septic,
Yes,
since we deny.
After
Okay.
denial.
once we issue a denial.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, all in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. Passes 4-0. Thank you very much. Number 4, consideration of change order 2 to City of Franklin contract 2018-0282, a construction contract with civil contractors for the State Route 96 West Multi-Use Trail, Phases 1 and 2 project, City of Franklin, with TDOT for a time extension of 90 days and a cost increase of $96,670.20.
So it obviously takes us a little bit of time to process these change orders and negotiate them. But what this is we had to relocate a fiber optic line. We had to do some additional water utility relocation for the water department. And then we also had to deal with AT&T fiber optic line that was in the way. We've negotiated this with Civil. We're all in agreement on the time extension and the additional cost. Happy to answer any questions. The project is essentially done right now, except for we still have to fix the fire station's entrance, which is still a negotiation between us and the contractor of that cost. So hopefully in the next 4 to 5 months, we'll be able to bring forward a final change order.
Do you want to explain the money part of that? Because we have over $1 million, almost close to $2 million awarded in federal funding for that, right? And where's this additional money
Yeah, so
access?
this was a partnership between us and the
Yeah.
feds and administered through TDOT, where they gave us, what was it, around
1.8.
It was $1.8 million
1.8.
in federal funds.
in federal funding. So we've exhausted that funding,
Yeah.
and now we're relying on city funding to finish out the remainder of the job.
Total, Cindy, this
This is local
96
dollars.
Local dollars.
is local.
This is
And
local
And it's
dollars.
all utility funds as well.
It
Yes.
is.
It was
Oh,
for,
it
it was
is.
for the relocation
100%?
of a local utility.
Okay,
So it would have been our cost anyway.
yep, okay. Got it. Do you have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Seconded.
All right. All in favor, Alderman Blanton,
Yes.
Alderman Hanson,
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. All right, thank you very much. Number 5, consideration of draft City of Franklin contract 2022-0155 with Thomas N. Jones and Associates for the title search, reports, and closing transaction services on the Columbia Avenue widening and improvement project at a cost not to exceed $96,475.
So we went through a typical RFQ process as required by TDOT, which is what we typically do for these larger projects. They're required to do title reports prior to negotiating with property owners, and then also title reports and closings. And it's all got to be done per TDOT standards. Tom Jones has historically done it for us. There's around 58 tracks associated with it. We believe the cost to be in line with what we would typically expect and recommend approval and look forward to getting into the right-of-way acquisition phase.
Great. Move to approve, sorry.
Second.
And do you have, so you're waiting for the additional costs to be approved through TDOT at this point?
No,
It says
the,
on there, additional cost, waiting for a response. Am I reading that wrong? Under financial impact?
yeah,
This
so
is
the,
fully funded, yeah.
it
But
it
it's
is
fully-
funded. What it is as the costs have increased, we have to go back to the state and then just essentially ask them to continue to match the federal funds that are
Oh,
being provided.
okay.
So don't be confused by that. Where it's essentially 80% funded by the feds,
Yeah.
20% funded by
By
the
the
state,
state.
and then we will be responsible for utility
Utility,
costs, yes.
yeah.
So
Okay.
water, sewer,
Still,
and other
yeah.
relocations. But that's just a
It's more of
detail we're working
procedural
out.
issue when
Yeah.
the MPO redid their prioritization process and when they allocate funding every 4 years.
All right.
We increased our funding level for this
Mm-hmm.
of federal funds, and with that comes along a 20% match to meet that 80% federal
All right.
funding. And previously, the state had agreed to make the 20% match because Columbia Avenue is a federal and a state route. So with the additional funds, right now, the way the funding breakdown is shown, they show the original pot of funding with 80% federal funds and the states meeting the locals. But without the additional commitment from the states, they show 80% federal funds for the additional funding and the locals meeting the 20% funding. So
All
we've
right.
made the request of the state to go ahead and continue that partnership and meet that. We just haven't heard back yet.
Gotcha.
Okay, I see.
Just
I
procedural.
see. And then we still, the same scenario with the utilities. Okay.
Correct.
All in favor, Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger, yes. Thank you very much. All right. I guess we are at Capital Projects Dashboard and status updates for August 2022. Hit it.
Biggest one I have to offer is on McEwen. We had our last order of possession hearing yesterday, so that was that, as far as I know, talking to law, that did go successfully. So as soon as we get those order of possessions recorded, we'll be submitting those to TDOT along with all the other documentation to start the, continue the right-of-way certification process, because there's been other documents already submitted to TDOT. So once they do that, we will submit again one last round of plan submittals to get our notice to proceed with construction. So that there is a bit of a process still left, but we do have our right-of-way at this point, at least orders of possession.
Okay.
That was a big one I would offer.
How far back are we set for actually going out to bid? What do
Right
you
now,
think?
we're still anticipating going to bid. We're saying right now, early 2024, which to start construction, so bidding sometime late next year. We'll try to do it earlier if we can, knowing where we are right now, but we're announcing right now or anticipating to start construction would be early 2024.
Yeah, we have to go back through the NEPA process, which we anticipated that. We started that almost 8 months ago, so that the second the right-of-way gets certified, we can resubmit NEPA, be certified with that, and then they can simultaneously review the final construction plans to get us there. But it's being pushed as hard as possible so that we can get out the bid.
All right. Anything else, everybody? Any
I've got a
questions?
quick question.
Mr. Mayor?
if I could, and it primarily relates to process.
Yes, sir.
What are, and this is, you can just answer after the meeting or some other time. What have you encountered that has slowed this process down that's either on our part or TDOT or the feds? So,
In short, just, I think there's sometimes and oftentimes there's turnover in staff, so just unfamiliarity with projects and especially long-term projects. We all know that projects with any sort of partnership and funding take a long time to happen, just because of the normal processes and procedures that have to be followed with regulations concerning federal transportation dollars. So there's a lot of process that has to be followed, and to keep up with all that is very nuanced. And I think that to have multiple people involved in that process, if you don't have the same people, especially at like TDOT local programs, or even on our level, because we're going to have staff turnover, it's getting people up to speed. That's one of the kind of barriers to that is once someone's up to speed as a project manager and you lose those people, you lose that knowledge, you have to bring the next person up to speed to know where you were at. And that's just
Yep.
part of the business we're in when you accept those funding levels. And really any project, bringing those people up to speed or bringing your new project managers up to speed or anybody that's heavily involved in the project. I know that the TDOT Local Programs Office works very hard, and they have a very few number of people that work on projects for the 4 regions in the state, and they're very loaded down with projects, working on dozens and dozens of projects for each person that they're allocated to all throughout the state of Tennessee. There's other things about changing regulations or changing the ways of processes internal to the state of how they look at things. One of the things we've been caught recently as not necessarily a bad thing, it's just we happen to get caught with the way they were reorganizing how their internal environmental section reviews documents and when they review them. It wasn't anything we did or anything they did. It's just they wanted to change their process, and where we were in the staging said you were kind of caught in the in-between limbo, so now you have to go back through the process and not completely start over or anything like that, but you're in this limbo where we've done everything we've said, but you're also in this process where we now have to catch up and see everything that has changed, because we now realize there's certain aspects of the project that we missed review on, that we didn't take care of, that we need to have been aware of. So now we're taking care of that. That's a good review on Columbia Avenue. That's why we're kind of in a holding pattern with right-of-way there, because we got notice to proceed with right-of-way, and now we're in a hold because there's some things they want to review environmentally. We don't believe that to be anything substantial, but they want to have a look at it just to be on the safe side, which is important environmental. You don't want to go out there and actually buy right-of-way on something and spend a substantial amount of money, or construction on something that could then come back and can't be altered or fixed. So there's a lot of little issues like that, and the mayor and I are working on a task force with the MPNO and GNRC, Metropolitan Planning Organization, Greater Nashville Regional Councils. That's where we go through and get our federal funding. TDOT's a part of that, and several other regional mayors and staff members are a part of that. And TDOT's at the table and bringing more staff members to the table to see how we can better manage these processes and deliver projects more effectively. Because one of the things with federal regulations, dollars, the feds come out and say, these are the laws and regulations you must follow, but each individual state is then tasked as stewards to actually implement those laws at a statewide level. So every state does it a little bit differently. So we've talked to them about how do we streamline that? What are the actual requirements from the feds, and how do we make how do we make the state more aligned with that, and how do we get our communication better so that we all know whose court is the ball in at any given time? So we're not pointing fingers and saying, well, we thought it was with you guys, and no, it was really with our consultant or with us, or it really was with TDOT. So communication's a big issue with any project of this size, especially when you're talking about organizations this size. So there's a lot of little issues that add up over time. One of the recent projects, I think it was 109, that you might have saw on the news in the last couple of months, that Paul Deggs, was the TDOT commissioner, actually mentioned that, and it might have been one of the representatives from up there, said projects take 12 years, I think was the quote he said. And, and that's considered a quick process, and the average person's like, that's a quick process. So you can imagine how many little bitty pieces have to move to get these things going. So there's a lot of little things we have to work with. So we're working on that. We're trying to get communication better. We're actively working on that with a lot of partners.
You have a great command of this and do a great job of explaining it too, so
Yeah,
well done.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you, that was very good, very helpful. Mr. Mayor, any other questions?
No, I think he's answered my question.
Anything else? All right, we're going to take a recess. May I have a motion for recess?
Move to recess?
Second? Anybody?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
And we will recess until 4:45.
Approximately 4:45, yep.
Capital Investment Committee meeting, and we are going to continue with item 6, capital projects dashboard and status update for August 2022, with a discussion on Franklin Road with specific updates for that. Who is going to be speaking to that?
I'll kick it off and then hand it off to Paul and Jonathan. We have just recently been given a specific proposal on some adjustments in the project delivery method and schedule. We've been pushing the contractor on Franklin Road to expedite completion of that project. They've had delays and issues there. Specifically, have challenged them to get it completed by the end of November, early December, so that we get ahead of the time when asphalt plants shut down and paving can't happen for an extended period of time. So they've given us a revision about that, that allows us to do it. It will have some impact on traffic patterns for the better part of almost 3 weeks. But we want to walk through that with you, give you as much detail as we can. The reality is we will need to make a decision on it by the end of this week, early next week, because we've got to work through TDOT because it's a TDOT route. So there's some lead time that we'll need to get the decision made and do the work that leads up to it. But we didn't want to do that without briefing you, giving you a chance to understand it, give us feedback. And this has been late developing, but important to share with you, and we're fortunate that we had this meeting opportunity. So I'll let Paul and Jonathan walk you through it, and be glad to answer any questions and go from there.
All right,
So,
thank you.
Jonathan, feel free to chime in and ask questions if you have them. A general overview is obviously where Franklin Road project is pretty far behind right now. We've been working with the contractor, trying to find any ideas we can to speed this project up. We're honestly a little bit fearful that this is going to go into the next year. Paving season gets missed, and it goes to the next year. So we're actively meeting with the project team and Civil's leadership, and one of the ideas they had was getting to do some type of a bigger closure to allow them to get caught back up and have more production. So working with them, essentially what they're requesting is to look at about a 3-week closure between September 6th and September 23rd, which is right before pilgrimage. With this closure, it would only close southbound Franklin Road, so northbound would remain open. On Franklin Road, you have in each direction, you have about 9,000 vehicles per day. That's very similar to the Lewisburg closure. I know that closure was very painful, but it was for an extended period of time. What we're hoping to do is do that for a 3-week period. What that allows the contractor to do is bring in bigger equipment, bring in additional crews in, and not have to work under the constraints of traffic. And what they think is that this will take off at least 4 weeks off of the contract period and allow us to hopefully finish it before paving season ends. And I promise you, the contractor is working extremely hard to try to get this project done, and so is your staff. So what you see up on the screen right now is the potential detour plan. So again, northbound would remain open. Southbound would be detoured via Mac Hatcher and Hillsborough Road. They are asking to work from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., 6 days a week with 2 crews. Their crews are driving 2.5 hours to get here to do work, so it's very difficult for them to stay even for a longer period of time. So again, our goal would be to try to complete those. Now, we will have to monitor it extremely closely. It would be almost 100% in civil constructors' hands, because essentially what it is, they bring in a milling machine, they're going to mill the 2 lanes up, they're going to get base stone down, they're going to excavate some areas that need excavated. There's no utility works, which eliminates a significant amount of risk. The risk is really weather dependent and just making sure that we get the asphalt put back down for pilgrimage. Now, we think we can manage all that risk and watch the weather, and when we start getting closer, get the paving crews out there to do the paving, which is a subcontractor. Should the subcontractor fall through, Civil is in control of being the backup paver. They have the paving equipment and can do the paving as a backup. So, we're really wanting to open it up to get your feedback. The question comes up of BGA. BGA is at the lower campus. They're currently not there, and they're out until October because that lower campus is closed right now, which gives us more opportunity and availability to try to take advantage of this and do it. But obviously, there's a pretty big disruption with that. And so we've looked at it. We think the plan is solid, but we wanted to get your feedback and hear your concerns and make sure that you had a chance to provide that feedback to us.
Let me clarify a couple points that may be helpful. Both lanes of Franklin Road will remain open down to Liberty Pike. Even though the detour will take around there, you'll be able to go north and south down to Liberty Pike. The closure will affect from the bridge to Liberty.
That's correct.
And so that's really where it'll happen. Now, we're not going to want to we're going to try to divert as much traffic as we can before it gets to Liberty, but it will still be open to folks. So that is an important piece. The week of pilgrimage will be important. They're asking to have that closure, but what we talked about yesterday, and I would emphasize to our team and to the contractor, is the beginning of that week, we're going to be tracking this thing every single day, but the beginning of that week in particular, we're going to need to look at what needs to be done to accommodate the pilgrimage plan in terms of providing pedestrian access from downtown to the festival site. So that's going to need to be accommodated wherever they are, that we need to make sure that there's a way to get that done so that the event can go off and we can accommodate people like we did last year and like we have in the past with that pedestrian walkway along Franklin Road between downtown and Harlansdale, because a lot of people park downtown and just walk or bike to the site. So that will be something we're going to need to make sure we maintain. And we'll be tracking their progress closely and make sure we still deliver on the event plan in terms of pedestrian traffic.
Before I take questions, could you clarify one more time, when you said the southbound lane would be closed, but then you said both lanes would be, access would still be open? Can you explain that again?
So the southbound lane closure is from Liberty to the bridge.
To the
Or
bridge.
basically downtown. So, but we will be putting detours in place in advance of that so that you're not pushing a ton of traffic in and they're all having to go down Liberty
All right.
Pike. So we'll be encouraging folks to use Mac Hatcher to go to Hillsborough, so
All
it'll
right.
put some pressure on Hillsborough that we don't have
Right.
for this roughly 3 weeks. It may push people towards Murfreesboro Road.
Okay.
Those kind of things, the
Got it.
different ways that you can bypass.
All right.
So
All right,
another.
do I have any, go ahead.
I was just going to say, another
Go ahead,
thing,
Mike.
it does definitely puts a burden on us as well, and we're willing to take that burden if it helps deliver the project, is, our traffic operations center will have to monitor Hillsborough Road and some of these other locations. As traffic shifts, we'll actively do that, and we'd have to be out there Saturdays with them too to ensure this project is moving forward,
So that might involve changing signal timing and that sort of thing to help accommodate the change in flow. So that's another thing we
All
would
right.
do.
Alderman Brown.
I have a handful of questions. First of all, what's the finished condition prior to pilgrimage of the roads, sidewalks, what's the final condition being promised at the start of pilgrimage?
Good. The east side sidewalk should be done next week. And whatever we tear up in these 2 lanes that we're closing from Liberty to First Avenue will be paved, that's what the contractor committed to, and that's what we're going to try to manage that risk to ensure it happens.
Is there any, we're obviously going to great lengths to help us get this thing completed. Are there any implications to not? Are there, is there anything that we're wrapping around this with them? Or is this just we're going to hope and pray again that they accomplish this short-term goal?
Well, regardless of this plan, the meter is ticking on liquidated damages, because their
Okay.
contractual completion date was the end of July. So regardless of what we do here, that number is still building, because they have that obligation. So that's something that we'll have to deal with as we close out the project. But one of the things we ask is, could we do it after pilgrimage? Would that help? You essentially lose productive time in that 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's not a whole lot of other work to be done, is the way I understand it. Is that right, Jonathan or Paul?
That's correct. If you wait too late to do the closure, you're waiting until too close to the end of the year that it really doesn't gain you anything at that point. You're too close to the end of paving season that you're going to flip over into the new year when plants are closed. And I'm not saying that you won't necessarily be able to get asphalt anywhere. There's always a handful of plants that stay open, but it's more difficult to get approved mixes. And sometimes there's plants that stay open because weather's more mild, but it's a lot of what-ifs that we know that if we can get something done by the end of paving season, which is typically mid-December, that's what we're shooting for, to not roll into another year.
What's the plan for Lancaster Drive?
It would remain open and they could go northbound. They could, take Liberty Pike over to Eddy, or they could go up to Franklin Road. So they'll be able to get out. All property owners will have access during this time frame.
I think it's probably.
All right, do we have any other questions?
I have a couple.
Alderman Blanton?
What about Old Liberty Pike?
Same as Lancaster, they'll be able to get out and go northbound, or they can
Can they get to
obviously,
Daniels Drive and then,
they can go over to Daniels and out to Liberty Pike.
okay, can you send us the visual that your battery just died? Because I can't see it there, and
Yes.
it'd be great if you could email that to all of us, just so
We'll
we
share
have
that with everybody.
And we're working on additional exhibits as well to be more detailed than what you're seeing here. This was more just for quick description and for discussion purposes. you'll
And
have
so
much-
are we gonna have police at each intersection, especially like at the end of Liberty Pike? You said you're gonna let people go through. I think about my sons that work on Harpeth Industrial. I mean, obviously can come a different direction, but are we gonna have police there that are kind of monitoring who goes through and who doesn't?
That would really be more as needed. I don't know that we'll always need it. I don't know if that's part of their plan. Have they indicated anything on traffic control?
No, we've talked about it. We're not seeing a need for it. Now, we do know there's some key intersections that we're going to have to monitor, and our Traffic Operations Center will be doing that. If we do see problems, we will obviously try to involve police to help mitigate those as much as possible.
I just think we've got to be really sensitive to some of the businesses that are over there. Pilgrimage is already a hurdle. You think about Always in Bloom, and so I want us to be kind to everybody that is traversing a new
Yeah.
traffic pattern and try to think ahead of how it affects them.
And we do work on access plans with the festival in particular.
I know.
And we get with them in
You
advance so
do,
they can
and it's
anticipate
been
that.
wonderful.
So
This is an extra,
that plan will still be in place, but the same approach will need to be taken here. The northbound will continue. It's just gonna, need to use some of the alternative routes.
so are you saying that if you're leaving town and you're at the bridge and you're wanting to go north, you can still go from downtown north
That's
throughout
correct.
this 3 weeks?
If you're heading northbound, nothing will really change.
So
Okay.
you may remember a couple weeks ago, they put down some asphalt, some binder. That's what people will travel on.
Okay, just
Okay?
not south.
Yeah, and just not south, because
Okay.
they need to do work in that, the old paved area. They need to tear that up and do the work that they need to do there.
Great.
Go
I'm sorry.
ahead, Alderman Brown.
Are you going to meet with the Lancaster Drive folks, or do you want me to meet? I mean, I will meet with them clearly, but is there a plan to communicate with them? I just figure they're going to be the most impacted by this.
Yeah, once we to have firm direction on it. William will put it out. He's got a bunch of contacts out there. He'll put it out to all the local contacts. We'll also work with Melissa to put it out on the different social media websites. And then TDOT, in addition to that, will put it out. But William should have all their contacts. It has been working with them, so we'll continue to do that.
Well, and even
I'll make
beyond
things-
Lancaster, Franklin Road specific.
Well, sure, there's, yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
right, yeah.
You know, there might be an idea too, when people are coming down Liberty, that would be west, coming down on Liberty, to get to the factory, before they get to Eddie Lane, signs before, right after Liberty School, signs telling people, please take the detour here. If you're going downtown, do not enter downtown through Franklin Road. It's closed, or it's not, we need to put a detour well before Eddie Lane so people know that, number one, we might have a sign before Ralston Lane
Yeah.
and then one before Eddie Lane, both.
No left turn on Liberty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No left turn
Or
on
on
Liberty.
Franklin Road.
Right.
Some of the things
We
we'll
need to be
look
very
at,
specific
Yeah.
on that.
we'll actually look at putting signs actually at the Mac Hatcher ring to divert
Yes.
people on Mac Hatcher
Yeah,
itself.
every Mac Hatcher point
Every
will have that.
section,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because we really want to divert them around Mac Hatcher when we
Because-
can, to keep them from that inner ring, because we don't want to divert that through traffic through those downtown streets.
Right. It's a good idea.
Yeah.
I think the more communication, the better, and in all areas of that. All right, do any of the other aldermen have any questions for
Jason does.
Yes, Madam Chair?
Jason? Yes.
I had a question, but it's along the same lines of what you were just talking about, and that was communication and education. The flag that popped up to me was when you said 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Can we talk about that for the lay citizen who's now going to be thinking about milling and things cranking up at 6:15, 6:30 in the morning? They might be showing up at the job site, but can y'all speak to that? And have we done this in the past? How was it successful? And if we haven't done it in the past, then what are we going to do to be successful?
So generally speaking, I'll be honest, we have received some complaints out there on Franklin Road when they started working too early. We stayed on the contractor about not doing that. The contractor's requesting 6 to 6, but Eric will tell us and he'll tell everybody always is that we monitor that. If we get complaints, we are going to dial it back. So if we start getting a lot of complaints from the residential areas, we will tell the contractor that we're going to adjust our hours back to 7. Is typically how we've handled
And they
that.
currently have extended hours in place right now from 7 to 7 during the week.
Yeah.
For weekdays, and they have, I believe it's 8 till 6 or 8 till 7. I'm not sure which one of those on Saturday. So they
Why-
do have extended hours in place.
Why not just stay with
Yeah.
7 to
7
7?
to 7.
Well, the contractor's
We need
employees,
6.
Oh,
Yeah.
the contractor's employees also living 2.5 hours away, they're wanting to stop at 6 because they have to get those individuals back. They said if we start at 7, they'll probably still be stopping at 6. So we're just trying to maximize the hours that
And
they
one of
can
the things
work.
we've been emphatic with them is if we do something as substantial as a closure of this realm, that we would expect them to be out there the full time of the closure. We don't want to see them, if we give you 12 hours a day, we don't want to see you out there for 6 hours, then you're not there part of the hours. We've been very, even if that involves you splitting your crews, doing whatever you do, every other sentence in some of our meetings has been, hey, make sure you're out there during the entire closure doing work every minute that you can. We understand there's times when you can't do things, but you got to put forth the effort if you're wanting this from us.
Okay. Are you still, all right.
Well, I did
Let-
have a
Let me
follow-up on-
interject one thing about that. I think people have a choice here. They have a choice of having a lot of pain in a short period of time, or we can extend that pain out for a long, long time.
Yeah.
So, if they're not happy with the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., well, we're going to have this road torn up for a long, long time. We nip it in the bud. We do it now. We might not like people being out there at 6 o'clock, but if I was a resident in that area, I'd say, start at 5. I don't care if it bangs. I know you'll be in, you'll be out in 2 to 3 weeks. So I think that we should do that. I mean, we may get complaints, but I'm sorry.
And again, if we
This is a
communicate,
short period of time, and we all have to put up with that for a while. People might not like it, but it is what it is. And we're trying to relieve and relieve that area as short of a period of time as we can.
And our hope too is, like you all said, communication. If we put it out there, it's 3 weeks, 6 to 6. Hopefully people will understand and be accepting
And
of
then I
it
have
for 3
another
weeks.
comment, but Alderman Beck.
I had a follow-up before we
Alderman
move off
Potts,
of that.
yes.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
But when you talk about communicate, are we sending out mailers that are specific to these individuals that are directly impacted? What are we doing right now?
Right now, I know William's doing a lot of emails is how he's handling it. We'll put it out on Waze. We haven't talked specifically about this because we
Waze.
haven't been given the go-ahead. So we can talk about sending out mailers, obviously, Waze and social media, our website. TDOT will put it out, but we're absolutely open. Mailers is not a problem if we choose to do
Our
that.
project
The reason
managers
why-
developed a pretty good email list over the
Yes.
course of this, and that's been the way we've communicated. It seems to have been pretty effective. So I think that's the primary way we would look at it. I don't know that a flyer does much better, but we can, and we'll use our other media, social media pathways to get it out.
And I'm not looking for a flyer per se, but I want to go along the lines of the communicate piece is if we're going to make this adjustment and go 6A to 6P for this shortened period of
That's
time,
right.
they need to know exactly what the plan is so that they feel that pain,
So they-
but then they know here's the finish line.
And they know
Sure.
the time period.
Yeah, we'll lay the whole thing out for sure, not just that it's going to be this way. We'll give them the time frame and what we're trying to achieve.
Because what I hear from you, Alderman Potts, and myself, too, I mean, I don't, if we get complaints, I'm not interested in saying, well, I'm sorry, people, you can't work at 6 o'clock anymore, because then that delays the entire project. We're going to spread it out probably more, so that would be a problem. Alderman Potts, are you finished, or
Yeah, just get ahead of the pain first,
Yeah.
so we don't have to deal with it.
Alderman Baggett?
Definitely.
So this feels to me, we are putting a burden on the city. I mean, first of all, I agree, we need to rip the Band-Aid off, get it done. However, seems to me with this running clock of the financial penalty, this is helping the contractor avoid penalties. And Jonathan, you made a comment that if they're not out there from 6 to, if they're not out there working, I just wondered if we're going to be saving them tens, if not 100,000, I mean, lots of money. This is us putting the citizens through this is going to be saving them money because it will get done quicker. With that, this is the first project where we had an incentive to get it done sooner, and it didn't make a difference.
Right?
No, that's not,
Yeah.
that's not
That's, I understood this was,
this is not the first project that we've done.
This is the largest one.
The
for sure.
largest
We
one,
have done it
apologize.
before, but this was by far the largest one. for
thank
sure.
you, I apologize.
Yeah.
This is the largest one that was hopefully going to be a model moving forward. Point is that we're going to put the citizens through this. Is there any contractual penalty that if we go through all this and it doesn't get done, that we've then put the citizens through the pain and it's still not done? So I guess just think through that maybe, and I give that, I mean, I don't know that I have to do this, but I think we should give you all the authority to come up with a creative solution. But if we're going to put the citizens through this, it needs to get done. And it needs to actually deliver on, and I know that you all have done that assessment, but
Yeah.
other than that, let's rip the Band-Aid off. I think people want it done.
Yeah.
I'm tired of hearing about it, and everybody else is.
Amen.
Get it done, whatever it takes.
I have one question, Bill.
One thing I
Jon-
can say
Jonathan, go
real
ahead.
quickly is that there's nothing,
Yeah.
and I'll certainly go back to let Sean answer on this. I'll give you my engineering take on the contract. There's nothing in the current contract that would allow us to, any sort of enforcement on that, because it's not something that's specifically stated in the contract.
Well, there was nothing specific about us shutting down the road for 3 weeks in the contract
There
either.
wasn't, but there's, yeah, it gives kind of a means and methods of the contract, but there's nothing specifically stated for us charging that in there.
Just
So I'd
an
go
idea.
to-
Just an idea. We don't have to dig
Yeah,
through
no,
it.
it's-
But
it's
if there's something there, do it.
And honestly, if they're not performing and they're not doing what they need to
That's-
do, we're going to make them pave it back, and we're going to get it back to two-lane
And
traffic.
that goes back to Eric's
And they
statement.
can feel the pain.
About our evaluation of that as being constant evaluation, is not only evaluating their progress on a daily basis, but we'll also be looking at that from a finished product is how much time is going to be needed to get it in a final or interim final state to be ready for pilgrimage, not only from just paving the roadway, but buttoning that site up to make it safe for pilgrimage. If we don't believe they're going to have enough time for that, at some point, we'll pull the plug and say, hey, guys, you're not performing at some level. stop what you're doing now and just repave what you've done now and put it back to ready state for pilgrimage. So that's something we'll be doing as well. And that's where they would feel the
Okay.
pain in that particular case.
And that liquidated damage meter is continuing
Constantly
to
ticks.
run.
Of course.
It's in both of our interests to get
Sure,
it done as soon as possible, but I hear what you're saying, and we'll do what we can.
And that's something in future contracts, we're looking at additional ways as far as lane closures, how long you keep lanes closed. There's additional creative ways that can incentivize the contractor to not have lanes closed any longer than necessary.
All right. Alderman Blanton.
Where are the BGA students?
Uh,
You said they weren't there.
They're going to First Pres,
Yeah,
and then they're
they're-
going to BGA campus, then they're going back to First Pres.
So I mean, we talked about, what's the,
October. I think
October
they're doing
sometime,
that.
yeah.
We have heard as latest it was mid-October. I think the date I heard was October 17th, but that may be pushed later. We don't have a definitive date, to be honest with you. And I
Let's
don't
just say
know the
middle of
num-
October.
I don't know the number of
We don't-
students. Yeah, we've been saying mid-October. I don't know the exact number of students at the lower school.
But it is sort of making the most of it while they're not there, because that's another conflict, that the longer this goes on will exist once we get to middle October, so.
I have Alderman Blanton.
So
Alderman Blanton.
you mentioned more than a handful of times that they're 2.5 hours away, this specific crew. I don't know if it's overstepping, but it would make sense that we suggest that they find a
Yes.
nice cozy place to sleep in our community. We have ample room nights in Franklin so that they dedicate that 3 weeks, get it done and not have to
Right.
travel so much. So I would make that suggestion. They're already in arrears, spend some of that money to make their crew be closer by.
We will definitely do that. I have no doubt that our
That's what I
project
got written
manager and
down
our
right here.
inspector have made that comment. Knowing them, I'm sure they have, but we will definitely make it again.
I think it would be a very strong suggestion. It'd give quality of work and they wouldn't be so tired and bitter maybe. So, just a suggestion.
I can,
Extra already, too.
Sir?
They're probably paying them extra already.
I,
Yes, sir.
I can mark that check mark right off. That was my next,
Same page?
that was my next thing. Crews, can they not stay here? And they can certainly foot the bill to do that because they are saving money by
And gas.
gas, they're saving gas, but they're also saving money by getting this done in a shorter period of time. If they want to drag it out, it's going to cost them more anyway. So I would highly recommend you have that conversation with them. It's good, it's a great idea.
Said the board brought it up.
Yeah, well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
We will be happy
Doesn't
to.
matter. All right, any other comments by the alderman? Mr. Stuckey?
Just my plan, so you know, is we have to make a decision on this, and this is something my leaning is to go ahead and give that yes, the green light on that tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they can start planning, we can start working with TDOT. We did want to include you in this dialogue, your input's been really helpful. We'll be working hard on a communication plan, both to the specifically directly impacted neighbors as well as the broader community. And we will focus on the ability, the idea that it is 3 weeks of pain to hopefully cut off what could be a 4 or 5 month delay in final completion of the project. So we appreciate your feedback, and we'll move forward with this and get the word out to the community.
Okay, well, thank you for the discussion.
Motion to adjourn, CIC.
Any other discussion here? All right, I'll take a motion to adjourn then.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
All right, all in favor of the
Aye.
committee? Aye.
Aye.
Alderman Blanton?
Yes.
Alderman Hanson?
Yes.
Alderman Brown?
Yes.
Alderman Berger? Yes, thank you very much. We are adjourned, and we will begin our next meeting in a nanosecond.
Yes.